Hi, LAES 301 and 302. I'm Caleb Ostgaard, and I'm going to present to you my mentorship interview research project. I'm going to start with the person that I interviewed. His name is Martin Cerna. He kind of sarcastically considered himself the lucky one that a lot of people in the industry say because they say they've been placed in the right time at the right place. There's a lot more behind that, he was saying, than just the right place and the right time. But yeah, I'll get into that in a little bit. First, a little background on Martin Cerna. He went to Cal Poly Pomona. He got his Bachelor of Architecture. Um, he graduated right in the middle of a huge recession, so he was jobless for 6 months as soon as he got out of college. And during that time, he put together a resume and a portfolio, and eventually got a job with DMJ H&N, which was kind of like a data entry firm company. Not exactly what he wanted to do, but it was money and he needed it. Rewind a little bit, right as he graduated college, the program he went through had not required him to, or any of the students, to make a portfolio along their whole during the curriculum. So he had nothing to present to anyone as soon as he got out of college, any prospect jobs or anything. So he kind of took 6 months, actually, at least, to compile everything that he had done over the past 5 years into one presentable thing to people that he wanted to get a job from. So that took a while. Then during that time, he got this job and he worked for them, and it was supposed to be a part-time thing. Ended up being from 3 months to 9 months, which helped with money. Which eventually led to him to applying for McLean Design, and he's currently a designer. With and he works with the customers and he builds 3D models. A little bit of background on McLean Design: they are committed to sustainability in building modern and contemporary homes in Orange County and Los Angeles. They were a small size firm when he started with them, and they're now currently more of a mid-sized firm. Um, Martin considers this industry very stable because he says there will always be rich people who want to spend their money and want to get the most hip and in fashion housing that they can live in, especially in the area that he builds them. He is for the company of McLean Design. He is the designer. Like I said, he started with the company from the beginning, so he saw it grow from this small, very small building, very little, just homes, maybe about 5 or less people, and now he's seen it grow to 10 or 15 people. Um, like I said just a little bit ago, he builds the 3D models himself, which is exactly what I want to do. He is in personal contact with customers, so he talks to customers, finds out what their needs are, and he makes them happen. And he presents it to them in this 3D model, and they can say, we like this, we don't like this, and he can go back and edit things and bring it back to the designers. And yeah, that's exactly what I would actually love to do with architecture. Um, so I asked them, like, okay, you said you weren't the lucky one. It's not just place and time. So what got you the job, and what can I do to get a job also in this industry? And he said it all starts with your education. During your whole education process, his key was to be honest with professors. It's not just in the beginning when you want to be honest, or in the end when you want to be honest. It's throughout the whole process. If you're in the middle of a process and you don't understand something, he says, you need to humble yourself and talk to a professor and say, I really don't know where I'm going with this design. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Just be honest. And with being honest, you also need to know that you need to step outside of your creative comfort zone. It's super important in a design process to not just to take a step back, take a step outside, and look at what you're doing and challenge yourself in new ways. And a great way to do that is to take criticism well. They will say things that you might not have thought of. People who criticize you, whether it's your peers or especially your professors, is what you should definitely take the criticism from, because they've had a lot of experiences and have seen a lot of different things. So yeah, it's very important to take that well. Um, like I said, his key thing when he graduated was he didn't have anything when to present to anyone. So documenting everything, if you don't document it in your portfolio, document it somewhere. That way you have it. Start that portfolio and keep the honest work in there. Completely quality over quantity. They want to when you present it to job and companies, you want to be able to present your most honest work, your most creative work, and the content is key, but presentation of this work is even more key. If not, it's definitely just as important, because when they look at a resume or portfolio, they want to see something that is clear, beautiful, unique, and intelligent. They want to see that. They want to be able to see it, and they want to see your content. But it's not just the content. They want to see that you can organize what you have done, take from what you have done, learn from what you have done, and move on from what you have done. And that's all key to teachability. They want to see that when you work for their firm or their company, that they can mold you in ways that they want you to be, and they want to be able to teach you things that you need to know to work for this industry, which is key. And also, you mentioned, of course, fundamental skills, whether they're technical skills, all the programs you need to know, make sure you know them, and also keep charisma and humbleness and being social and having integrity are all key to getting a job and keeping that job, because that's how the industry works. You can't be fake. You need to be able to relate with people. Otherwise, it's not going to work out. On the right, I have a picture of my resume that he helped me kind of formulate that was clear, beautiful, unique, and intelligent, and not too messy and not too plain. So yeah, after interviewing Martin, I did some research in one of my favorite designers, architects, Charles Eames. He is most famous for his furniture, but I'm going to explain a little bit about him. Quick history on him. He went to Washington University. He studied architecture. He dropped out because the professors claimed he was too modern for his time, and it wasn't working out, and they didn't like it, which is crazy to think, to get out of school for something like that. So he went in to start his own practice. He married a girl named Catherine, who he met at Washington University, and he kind of was pursuing what he wanted to do in his own practice, and eventually decided, okay, I'm going to go back to school. He went to the Cranbrook Academy of Art, studied architecture again. While he was there, he met a guy, and they worked together to enter this furniture competition, which I'll explain more about in a little bit. But yeah, eventually he was not feeling it with Catherine, left her, married this girl named Ray, who is also part of this whole Eames concept. She doesn't get recognized as much, but she's just as smart of the creative part, just as much of a part of the creative process as Ray. So they moved to Los Angeles, started a firm, started with designing splints, and then went on to create a lot more stuff, including films, architecture, and furniture. So like I said, he started out with this competition with this guy, and their whole motto was, we don't do art, we solve problems. So they said, we're going to design something that's practical. We're going to design something that's cheap, easily made, and comfortable. They wanted to completely redesign America's concept of a chair, because no one really had. It's a chair, like that's normally you just leave it as a chair, but they wanted to redesign that in something that was pleasing to customers and different. So they designed this chair on the right, which was super comfortable, but it wasn't cheap because it was not easily made. Machines at that time could not make that, which means that it was not easy to reproduce. So their motto was, we don't do art, we solve problems. But what they had done in this process was they found this design that was perfect for comfortableness, and it was beautiful, but they didn't solve problems, because their problem was all the stuff that is comfortable and nice is not cheap, and it's not easily made. And so they didn't do that. And the one guy kind of gave up, but Charles wanted to continue with this process when he moved to Los Angeles with Ray, but it was World War II. After he had moved to the West Coast, there was really low supplies, and Charles couldn't even do anything because they weren't allowed supplies. So they had to get creative. And they had heard that the government needed new splints, because the splints that they had weren't working. They weren't fixing people, and people were getting worse when they came into these splints. So they came up with this design with slits in the sides that was wooden and worked very, very well, and was very, very successful. And he kind of, like I said before, you have to take a step outside of your box and your creative zone, and you have to think, like, how can I apply this in other ways? And he eventually applied it to his own furniture, going back to this chair he had originally designed. So he redesigned the whole chair. As you can see, this one is a lot more pieces. It's not one fluid piece of plywood, which makes it a lot easier to make and a lot easier to sell. And it's a lot easier to reproduce. So he applied these techniques of splitting it up, and eventually came up with this chair, which sold, and he got a job with a furniture company or the furniture company hired them to do pieces.